Intercontinental Le Mans Cup. Last season, where already the preparation of a World Endurance Championship is highly awaited. In 2011, 7 events were on the program, with a highlight counting double points, the Le Mans 24-hour race from the United States to China, passing by the great European classics, prestigious circuits for races of 6, 10, 12 or 24 hours. The magic of long-distance races, where the unknowns are multiplied in the equation and parameters that are not always possible to control. Endurance takes on its full dimension, the human and technological adventure, the suspense, the sporting spirit. In GT or prototypes, the season has been breathtaking. Florida put on a veritable light show to welcome the inaugural race of the 2011 ILMC season. Brilliant sunshine and very little breeze, ideal starting conditions. But the unpitiful track of Sebring, the traffic generated by the 56 cars on the track, and the impetuousness of the competitors paid their toll on the two favourites, Audi and Peugeot. The first to come into problems are the Germans. Car number 1 falls victim to a double blowout. The second, driven by Capello, 4 hours and 20 minutes after the start, tangles with the Peugeot number 7, being driven by Marc Genet, and the chances of victory for the constructor fly out the door.
There's been a lot of changes in the last few years in sports car racing. One of them is the traffic. If we look at Sebring 2012, there's 60 cars on the grid. That's nearly 25 cars more than 3 years ago. And so therefore you've got more cars with varying speed, varying experience, and so it's a little bit driving around the peripherique, but at 180 kilometers per hour, you know, and sometimes things happen, incidents happen, and we have to race harder. We can't sit back and relax or wait going into a corner, because that just means you lose. You know, the end, you're not quick enough, and so we've got to, as drivers and as a team and with the car, we've got to think quite logically in the way we improve and the way we go forward.
Running a regular race, it's the Honda of Brabham, Franchitti and Pagenaud, and the private Peugeot of the Oreca team. But it's with brio that the trio of Lapierre, Duval and Pagnus, back behind the wheel of the 908 HDI FAP, take the first laurels of the season with a tiny advantage. 3 cars in the same lap, the first 2 less than 32 seconds apart after 12 hours racing. Spa-Francorchamps is marked by the serious accident of Mathieu Lahaye during qualifying. The Oak Racing driver will have long weeks of convalescence ahead of him before taking back to the track. It's thus on the legendary Belgian circuit of Spa that the second round of this 2011 season of the ILMC is held. It's also the dress rehearsal for the 24 hours of Le Mans. And one might have placed bets on Audi to win after qualifying, but there are a few false notes after an impeccable start. It's car number 3 of McNeish that goes for a spin. Then, after some contacts on the track, problems begin with the rear bodywork, resulting in long pit stops for the R18. Then a speed governor activated by mistake slows the progress of Dindo Capello. It's a whole swathe of hassles for the Audis. Peugeot wasn't spared though, at least when it came to the car of Bordet, Pagenaud and Lamy. Pushing too hard, mechanical hitches, they had more than their fair share. On the other hand, the perfect duo formed by the other 908s drove the Lion to its 5th consecutive success in the Belgian Ardennes. Peugeot is victorious thanks to the consistency and reliability of its men and machines.
crois que cette année, ça a été un petit
I think this year it was a bit harder than in previous years.
sur la piste, ça a été beaucoup plus serré.
On the track it was much tighter because the advantage of pace and pure performance we had in the past 3 seasons didn't happen again this season.
Cette année, on a vu clairement
We saw clearly that Audi had made a big push,
et que ça a été
and this was the result. And the lack of success, the tiny errors they made them,
ils les ont
I think clearly that everybody gave 100%.
tout le monde s'est donné à 100%.
And in those conditions, we were a bit better than them.
Un peu meilleur qu'eux.
The most spectacular moments of Le Mans were no doubt the running off of the 2 Audi R18s on the Saturday afternoon.
Quelle voiture on sait l'Audi numéro 3. L'Audi numéro 3 d'Alain McNish. Oh là 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 là.
And a little later, around 11:30 p.m. for Mike Rockenfeller. In both cases, the images are terrifying, but luckily there was little harm done for the drivers. The only Audi left in the running will be the right one. It's able to resist the repeated attacks of Davidson aboard the Peugeot 908 number 7, and especially the Sunday morning at sunrise from car number 9 driven in turn by Sébastien Bourdais and Simon Pagenaud, the final rival for the victory. The duels with Benoît Trallier and Marcel Fassler at the wheel of the Audi will remain some of the highlights of this edition. The forward march of the number 10 Peugeot, whose reliability was perfect, was slowed by 2 runoffs, with only 4 cars ahead of them running under the new rules, and run by major manufacturers at that. The Oreca Matmut team finished for the 3rd year running as the first privateers in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. After the Audi-Peugeot duel, one also couldn't miss that of the petrol-driven prototypes, battling for many laps with the Rebellion Toyota number 13, Bouillon, Bellicki and Smith. The Pescarolo Judd number 16 takes advantage of an error by Bouillon to breathe a little easier. Oak Racing have courageously multiplied their engagements this season, and the 2 LMP1s show their best profiles. But the teams of Jacques Nicolet are struck with bad luck, and neither finish the race. This bedlam allowed the Toyota Lola, number 12 of Prost, Yanni and Bleekemolen, to take the crown as the best petrol-driven team of the category. With just 1 car at the finish, Audi triumphs after an epic scenario in the 24 Hours of Le Mans, ahead of 3 Peugeots.
For Audi to again win the big one, then I think that really was this year especially, was one of the hardest Le Mans, and a great success because it required all the team really to focus after the big accident of myself, which put our car out of the race, but also with Rocky, and for them to come and win by 13 seconds, or 13.4 seconds, less than 1/10 of a second per lap average.
In Italy, a few kilometers from Tuscany and the heartland of Ferrari, far from the shadowed calm streets of the villages of Emilia-Romagna, a narrow windy circuit with 49 cars on the track in 5 different categories. In Imola, there were all the ingredients for a thrilling race. After a breathtaking 24 Hours of Le Mans, led by Audi, here it's the Peugeot 908s that show their colors. Appearing at ease, the 2 Lions take the lead and never come under threat. A way of turning the page, as one of the winning drivers said, demonstrating an encouraging level of performance for the end of the season. After Imola, Peugeot still leads the constructors' table with a comfortable margin back to Audi. And we've passed the midway point in the ILMC season. We have car 15 with me, Mathieu and Pierre. We have held out for a good third place, but we had a little electronic problem in the pit lane limiter, so we went too fast in the pits. That's frustrating, but that's racing. But it proves that the team strategy is good. Otherwise, it can always happen. Car racing is hard and not always easy to accept. When we have a good strategy, we can note that the second car was there and boom, we get third. And we pit Rebellion Toyota. For Oak Racing and for Jacques, I think that was very important. To get onto the podium with Peugeot and Audi. I think it's more than a victory for Oak Racing. Silverstone, Great Britain. With a pole position in hand, the team of the leading 908 of Bourdais and Pagenaud will not be starting with a sure win in sight. The Lion has its first rough patch early in the running, with a runoff by Franck Montigny, which forces the French team to rethink their strategy. The 908 number 8 comes back very late onto the track and is out of the running for the podium. In a battle for second place, it's the Audi number 2 and the Peugeot of Bourdais that are fighting it out 1-1. As for car number 1, they're forced to come into the pits to change a badly damaged piece of bodywork. They also drop down in the classification. And if that wasn't enough for Audi, it's the turn of car number 2 to fall victim to the traffic. In this race by elimination, it's the Peugeot of Bourdais and Pagenaud that runs the most faultless course, keeping away from trouble. Fast and sure, the progression of the French car offers them a new victory, completing an impressive hunting table for Peugeot in ILMC. Olivier Pla takes third place less than an hour after the start in car number 24. In the LMP1 number 15, Pierre Rague, who got a poor start, has also made it back up to 5th place. A neck-and-neck battle then develops with the two Lola Toyotas of Rebellion Racing, lasting several hours. Car number 15 is hit with a 30-second stop and go due to a problem with their engine governor while they were en route for third place. This takes away all hopes of a podium finish. The LMP1 number 24 takes up the relay in brilliant form and finishes third with 40 seconds lead over the Lola Rebellion number 13. Globally for the team, the reliability was pretty good. If you count the number of races, our car has done 8 races and the other has done 6. In 14 races, there are 3 mechanical problems. I'd say that endurance, that's pretty correct. In any case, a good leap forward compared to last year. We're back in the USA again for the Petit Le Mans at Atlanta, the 6th round of the championship.
Drivers, start your engines.
13 points. That's all that's needed by Peugeot before the 6th of 7 rounds of the Intercontinental Le Mans Cup 2011. Thanks to the pole position of Davidson, only 12 are needed by the start. While Peugeot preserves the lead at the start of the race, Marcel Fussler takes the upper hand in the 8th lap, thanks to a spectacular overtaking maneuver in the last corner. Tom Christensen in the Audi number 2 is out of the running for the podium after 2 incidents with slower vehicles. A GT hits the rear end of the prototype and damages the suspension and clutch. After a cannonball run, car number 7 of Bourdais, Pagenaud and Davidson, which for some time set the pace, falls victim to a mechanical problem. It's been a rare occurrence this season at Peugeot. The car retires in the 3rd hour with a transmission breakdown. The penalty, as well as the different periods of neutralization, have whittled away the gaps, and we even find Franck Montagny in the Peugeot number 8 and Romain Dumas in the Audi number 1, in that order at the N3 start. But the superb battle up till here turns short as the German prototype finishes its race against the rails after a tangle with a Porsche. After a difficult beginning to the season with their new AMR1, Aston Martin Racing finds the smile again for this end of season. Adrian Fernandez, Stefan Merker and Harold Prima make it to the 3rd step of the podium for the 2nd last round. The two Oak racing cars shine in the USA. Car 24 finishes 7th overall. After having opened the Intercontinental Le Mans Cup with a superb victory in the 12 Hours of Sebring, Team Oreca Matmut finished the season with a superb second place at Road Atlanta. The Peugeot number 8, in the hands of Franck Montagny, Stéphane Sarrazin and Alexander Wurz, wins the 2011 edition of the Petit Le Mans, and Peugeot, by the same token, wins the Intercontinental Le Mans Cup.
Super résultat, super victoire avec le championnat à la clé, c'est vraiment extraordinaire. Super.
Chaque course nous a apporté
Each race brings its emotions. I think that coming back at Imola, winning there in the way we did as a double header, and continuing with Silverstone, and then Petit Le Mans, I think they're important moments. That's what makes it a success or a debacle.
Réussite ou une débâcle.
To stir the biggest automobile market in the world, the teams are set to put in a top performance for the final 6-hour race of the season. Audi and Peugeot are out to shine in front of millions of Chinese TV viewers. The duel everyone was waiting for is on again and moves up a notch as the Germans are back in contact with the 908s, threatening their leadership. It's an exceptional battle that's stirring between the R18s and the Peugeots. The German and French prototypes exchange virtual podium positions on several occasions. And in this fight for honor, as the title's already played out, neither constructor nor driver wants to give away anything to their adversaries. In this early part of the race, the traffic's heavy, and it's worse still when the leaders catch up with the tail-enders. The situation becomes complex, with a battle for the slower cars in a restrained perimeter, and with some tenths of a second needed by McNish and Bourdais in the leading cars, the running gets closer than close. In any case, the balance between Peugeot and Audi doesn't seem to allow one or the other to take a decisive advantage, but the strategies and race incidents will change the face of things. Yet again, circumstances play against the Audis. McNish is victim to an impact and has to spend long minutes in the pits before abandoning due to an electrical problem. The rebellion of Neil Janney and Nicholas Prost is fighting it out with the Oak racing cars. Cars 24 and 15 are battling tooth and nail for the honours among the petrol-driven prototypes. But with a 4th place overall in the end, it's Olivier Pla, Alexandre Prémat and Jacques Nicolet who take the virtual prize. It's not over between Audi and Peugeot. Marcel Fassler in 3rd place, 1 lap behind, attempts to set a cat among the pigeons. But too optimistic at the start of the straight, he trips up and goes for a spectacular spin, luckily without any serious consequences. Peugeot has floored the competition and has a full house at the end of this ILMC season, having already acquired the title. 7 races, 6 victories, including 3 for Bourdais and Davidson, the heroes of the day yet again. Decidedly, in 2011, you had to be racing a 908 to have any chance of winning a 6-hour race. Peugeot largely dominates Audi in the final classification.
C'était une très belle saison.
It was a very, very good season.
Peugeot gagne le championnat.
Peugeot wins the championship.
Plein de choses.
There are many things that are positive.
Ressortir très positif.
So
Donc,
that's my analysis, rather than just saying we didn't win at Le Mans.
De cette saison, plutôt que dire on n'a pas gagné Le Mans.
For Audi, all that remains is to get back into the saddle to attack the next season with new ambitions.
We look into next season. We know we've got more competition again with the might of Toyota arriving to fight with us and with Peugeot. And that's fantastic for a World Championship, no question. But we also know that we've got to improve. You know, you can't sit back and say, okay, we won Le Mans. That isn't good enough. We have to improve, and that's where I would say a lot of the energy is right now, is to make sure we're ready for next year.
Attention, attention.
At Sebring, the temple of American endurance racing, the battle in the GTE Pro category is permanent between Corvette, Ferrari and BMW, the lead changing over and over again in a highly compact pack. But at dusk, it's the magnificent return of the BMW of Farfus, Werner and Aubelen that marks the race. They majestically overtake the Corvette of Beretta, Milner and Garcia. Finally, it's BMW that snatches not only the victory with the success of Priaulx, Müller and Hand, but also a great doubleheader thanks to Farfus, Werner and Aubelen.
The day 24 hour and the Sebring 12 hour.
Spa-Francorchamps sees a new constructor on the track. Lotus and their two Evoras are under the spotlight for a life-size test run for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. They're concentrating on taking the team to the level of the other competitors, and already they get good results in terms of reliability. In Belgium, in the GT class, the battle between Porsche, Ferrari and BMW is palpitating, even if, in the end, it turns into a one-on-one between the top teams running with the new 458s. AF Corsa, JMW and Farnbacher all have their sights set on the victory. Car number 51, driven by Gianmaria Bruni and Giancarlo Fisichella, plays on reliability, and the team heads for victory. It's the first win of the season for Car 51, one of the references of this 2011 Intercontinental Le Mans Cup vintage. Le Mans, it's the dream of BMW. With their M3 GT, the German firm has great ambitions, and they begin by taking the much sought after and symbolic pole position, thanks to the talent of the Brazilian driver Augusto Farfus. But during the race, everything changes. The Corvette number 74 takes advantage of the problems of the German car to take the command, leading after several hours before looking at retirement after a runoff. At this point, the AF Corsa Ferrari of Fisichella, Bruni and Villander takes the opportunity to pass into the lead. But Corvette hasn't had its last word. A number 73 of Beretta, Milner and Garcia, running like clockwork, takes back the lead and won't let go till the finish. Ferrari will have to be content with second place, with, in their rearview mirrors, the last BMW on the track, that of Priaulx, Müller and Hahn. The M3 GT number 56 attenuates the deception of the Germans, who were favourites. Corvette thus celebrates its 60th anniversary with a new victory in France, and even offers a double-header in GTE because the amateur classification will also be dominated by an American. In Italy, Ferrari's motherland, of course the 458s start off strong, but it's very quickly the duo of BMW M3s that lead. The efforts of the German constructor, always with the pace, but somewhat lacking in results, starting to bear their fruits. But before long, there's only one BM left in the running. Car 56 of Lamy and Werner, victim to an air conditioning breakdown, and they'll stay in the pits. Car 55 of Müller and Farfus has a blowout and a penalty. The two Germans led the race for 80% of the time, but are not rewarded. Ferrari take the benefit. The car of Fisichella and Bruni is in second place. Behind the other AF Corse car, driven by Tony Villander and Jamie Mello, both very keen on taking victory. Success for the Ferrari 458 Italia at home, sure to raise spirits among the drivers and the technical crew. AF Corse scores important points, allowing them to take the lead in the GTE Pro classification in the Intercontinental Le Mans Cup. In Great Britain, the GTE Pro category is again a battleground, with very close running for the entire 6 hours of racing. Ferrari against Porsche, with BMW the arbitrator. The three major manufacturers running in the series put on a real show, with total suspense right up till the finish. Ferrari also makes another step towards the ILMC 2011 Constructors' Crown, thanks to the tandem of Fisichella Bruni at the wheel of their 458 Italia. They finish in front of another 458, that of Luxury Racing, driven by Otelli and Makowiecki. This success is the third of the season for the official Ferraris engaged by the AF Corse team. The Ferrari 458 crosses the line in the lead. Victory finally for Fisichella and Bruni. Everything had started well for the BMW number 55 of Dirk Werner, Augusto Farfus and Bill Oberlin, as the car led for a good part of the race. After Gian-Maria Bruni and the AF Corse Ferrari find themselves in front of the BM number 55, the latter takes back the upper hand on Ferrari thanks to a refueling stop while the yellow flag is out. They're off for around a half an hour of combat of the Titans, the BMW bumper to bumper with the Italians. But the BMW shows signs of weakness in the tyre department, when Jörg Bergmeister and his Porsche are able to take the better of Dirk Werner in the last lap. The Bavarian constructor finishes in third place on the podium, allowing Ferrari to increase their lead in the classification. Starting from pole position in LMGTE Pro, Gian-Maria Bruni, Giancarlo Fisichella and Pierre Caffer impose with their Ferrari 458 Italia in this category. It's a victory that allows AF Corse to conserve the lead in the team classification with 14 points lead over BMW. The title is almost in the bag for Ferrari and the Amato Ferrari team, even though mathematically their German adversaries could still get there. After 10 hours racing, the emotion is incredible for the boys in red. Ferrari against BMW. That's the music we've been hearing in GTE Pro since the start of the season. BMW succeeding on the other side of the pond, but still not on the old continent. Ferrari is dominating in the points. But things turn to vinegar for car 51 of AF Corse, who fall prey to mechanical problems. Fisichella and Bruni are relegated to the back of the pack. Luckily, it's the 458 of Team Luxury Racing, driven by Fred Makowiecki and Stefan Ortelli, that takes the relay and takes the podium, synonymous with the title for the Cavallino. But here, no one can do anything against the domination of the official M3s. Despite some little problems in the pits, the two cars finally finish at the top of the hierarchy. Priox and Alsen after the victors of this event, Jörg Müller and Augusto Farfus. It's a season's end in fanfare for the BMs that are now systematically able to make life difficult for the Ferraris. We'll be impatient to see what happens in the next confrontations. The 12 Hours of Sebring, first of the 7 rounds of the Intercontinental Le Mans Cup organized by the ACO. A mythical American endurance event. Signatech Nissan pick up the new gauntlet by running in the category. The team of Philippe Sino is running an Oreca 03 with a Nissan engine, and the French team based in Bourges attacks its international campaign in the best of fashions. Unfortunately, running into technical hassles, Frank Maillot and Sohai Ayari are supported by a young Spanish player, Lucas Ordonez.
On connaît tous son parcours avec cette victoire à la GT Academy.
We all know what he's done with his victory at the Academy, a PlayStation player who becomes a racing driver. His story has made a lot of people dream, and you have to know that he's really a good driver. He has really progressed this year, made no errors, and that proves the system with Nissan and PlayStation works well. The team of the brand new Oak Pescarolo LMP2 car of Frédéric de Rocha, Patrice Lafargue and Andrea Barlesi take the podium after their first race. It's a veritable sporting and technical exploit for the private French team that's developed a prototype in record time. The very quick Oreca Nissan of Signatech leaves the victory to the Lola Honda of Level 5, driven by Taka, Hunter-Ray and Diaz, who take this first win. Spa-Francorchamps marks the return to a common event between the ILMC and the Le Mans Series this season, with a well-patronized pack in LMP2. And there's a kind of revolution. The HPDs that seemed to be untouchable in the previous seasons are eclipsed by the arrival of the Oreca chassis in the category. The 03 is running marvelously and allows the TDS of Boots and Energy to take a double header. After a superb duel that turned to the advantage of Pierre Thirier, Matthias Becher and Jody Firth. The first competitors of the ILMC, Oak Racing, 6th in the race, and Signatech Nissan 5th, are separated by 4 points after the first 2 events of the calendar. The combat between the smaller protos is fabulous. Firstly, it's the Honda of Stracker Racing with Leventus Watson Kane at the wheel that sets the example with its pace, but a mechanical hitch forces the team to retire. This leaves the head of the table to the Oreca Nissan team, number 48 of Prema Halliday and Crayhammer. But David Halliday, in poor light conditions, smashes the car against the safety rails. A 4th interruption to the race at daybreak. The podium is completed by the American Honda of Level 5 Motorsports with Bushu, Tucker and Barbosa at the wheel that takes 3rd place. It's a nice reward for the French driver Bushu at Le Mans for the 17th time. The Oreca 03 Nissan of Signatech has a complicated race, but the selflessness of Philippe Sino and his boys allows them to take a well-deserved 2nd place and to score the maximum number of points in ILMC. We really wanted to fight for the victory in any case in the category, and that's why we decided to go into LMP2. It was a done deal because we're champions a race before the end. We had very good results at Le Mans. Even if we had some small teething problems with the Oreca, we managed to take the car to the finish and get 2nd on the podium at Le Mans, so it was a fantastic season. Victory for the Zytec Nissan number 41, a success that goes to show that nursing the machine is one of the first rules in endurance. At Imola, the leaders of the LMP2 class are numerous in a race with plenty of chopping and changing. The Lola Honda number 33 of Scott Tucker, Christophe Bouchou and Joao Barbosa passes from 6th position to the lead in LMP2, and there's less than 2 hours running to go. But less than 25 minutes from the finish, a mechanical problem arrives. A gearbox problem means Bushu's forced to use only fourth gear. The French driver's forced to slow down, but still manages to finish third. The Oreca Signatech Nissan of Frank Maillot, Lucas Ordonez and Sohei Ayari with second place score good points for the ILMC and retain the lead of their class in the championship. While Greaves Motorsport accumulates the successes in the Le Mans Series. With Paycom Racing in fourth place, the Oak of Prémat and Nicolas fifth, they'll also mount the LMP2 podium, identical to that at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. In LMP2, it's the Oreca chassis that are the fastest, whatever engines they're using. But the diverse fortunes of the race that hit these cars in the different teams have allowed Greaves Motorsport to draw an ace, thanks to regularity and reliability. Team Boutsen and the Signatech Nissan put in a superb race, but the places of honor will be judged on the final podium. Starting from second line in LMP2 on the grid, the Oreca 03 Nissan yet again has victory within its grasp, but then comes a long pit stop for an extractor change. With a fourth ILMC victory in 4 races, 9th overall, Sohei Ayari, Frank Maillot and Lucas Ordonez finish yet again on the second step of the podium in LMP2. And while Greaves are close to taking the title in LMS, thanks to this new victory, the first car classified in ILMC is the Oak Pescarolo of Yvan, Darocha and Lafargue, a result that will crown a great weekend for the French team. It's Signatech that occupies the top place in the ILMC Championship and who have the best chances of being crowned in November in Zhuhai, and even perhaps before. Starting from pole position in the category, the second car of Level 5 Motorsport runs into turbo problems early in the race. The HPD, driven by Scott Tucker, Luis Diaz and Marino Franchitti, number 55, finishes 5th among the LMP2s. At the wheel of the HPD number 33, Scott Tucker, Christophe Bouchou and Joao Barbosa finish winners in LMP2 and 6th in the general classification. The 2 first cars also take the LMP2 driver's title in ALMS, offering Level 5 Motorsports a second title in 2011 after winning the team title and also 2 invitations to Le Mans 2012. After 2 years' presence in endurance, Signatech has partnered with Nissan in order to develop a car on an Oreca chassis, powered by the Japanese engine maker. Thanks to a third place at Petit Le Mans, Signatech Nissan has snatched the first title in its young endurance career in LMP2. 2 of the main players this season are on the grid for this final meeting of the season, with in their sights the lads from Signatech and a much-awaited victory. The Oreca Nissan already holds the title, but having not been able for the moment to position its drivers at the top step of the podium. Thanks to a very regular season, the team of Philippe Sino have become the reference in LMP2, but they'd like to put a cherry on the cake here in China. Aided by the problems of the Oak of Frédéric Darocha and Patrice Lafargue, they very quickly find themselves assured of this much-coveted victory. Signatech thus finishes the 2011 exercise in top shape, having accumulated the podiums and finishing their year at the top of the hierarchy, turning also towards 2012 and the first season of the World Championship as favourites. The season starts poorly in Sebring for the Corvette number 50 of Labour competition. After only an hour and a half of racing, an engine problem eliminates the French team. Gabriel Gardel at the wheel sits and watches as it all happens. It's the Porsche of Reed, Roeder and Leeds that is one of the movers and shakers. They finish second despite a clutch problem. It's finally a team flying the colours of the USA, Krone Racing, that takes the victory at home on the Sebring circuit with the Ferrari F430 of Krone, Johnson and Rugolo. The team thus takes the lead of the GTE AM classification in ILMC 2011. At Spa-Francorchamps, it's the cars of the Le Mans series that reign in the category. The IMSA Matmut Porsche of Armindo and Narak ahead of the Ferrari 430 of Team AF Corse. Behind, the third place of the Corvette of Labour competition allows them to take full points for the championship, despite several notable incidents like this impact that might well have pushed Gabriel Gardel, Julian Canal and Patrick Bornhauser out of the running. Following the American car, again well placed, it's the Porsche 63 of Team Proton that allows Christian Reed and Nick Homerson to take for the second time to the podium in the ILMC. At Le Mans, starting from 8th place in the category on the grid, the Labour Corvette takes the lead in the first hours into the night. It's the second consecutive victory for Julian Canal and Gabriel Gardel at Le Mans with Labour competition. Patrick Bornhauser, who was to have joined the duo 12 months ago, had to forfeit due to health issues then. But this year he was finally able to win the much-coveted trophy. Meanwhile, Jean-Philippe Belloc, Christophe Bourret and Pascal Gibbon in the Porsche 911 GT3, prepared in partnership with IMSA Performance, are the only trio capable of keeping up the pace with the Corvette. The performance levels of the two cars allow them to build during the race a gap of 17 laps back to the closest rivals. We sent the team out all the month of February with the means needed to get all the know-how around this car. We met at Sebring in the ILMC Championship, and as usual, we didn't neglect anything and worked 100%. For a French team like Labour competition, winning the 24 hours of Le Mans is incredible, especially when it's a second year running. At Imola in Italy, Ferrari were not able to shine at home, as it's the tandem of Armindo and Narak running in the Le Mans series who take a second success after that of Spa in the month of May. With very hot weather conditions and a demanding track, the Imola round will have been one of the most difficult races of the season. After finishing third on the track, Gabriel Gardel, Julian Canal and Patrick Bornhauser and the number 50 Corvette move up one place due to the disqualification of the Proton competition Porsche. Third in GTAM in the ILMC after 6 hours racing is the Ferrari 430 of CRS Racing, driven by Pierre Héret, Sean Lynn and Roger Wills, who take advantage of difficult circumstances to harvest the fruits of their reliability and regularity. And to complete this podium, it's the Ferrari 61 of AF Corse, driven by the trio of Perazzini, Ciocci and Lemeray, that takes the second step and allows them to remain in the wake of the leaders of the classification. Labour competition, for their part, have again signed a solid race. Finishing second, the team increases its lead in the general standings with a lead of 27 points at this stage and 3 races left to run. At Silverstone, Patrick Bornhauser, Julian Canal and Gabriel Gardel have a difficult start to the weekend. A runoff during qualifying relegates them to the back of the grid. But in the race, the Corvette number 50 works its way back up through the pack before being hindered by 2 tangles with prototypes. Only a few seconds are all that separate the French team from taking the absolute third place in GTE AM. But they conserve the lead of the championship with 28 points lead. The next objective is the conquest of the title at Petit Le Mans. The Corvette of Bornhauser, Canal and Gardel finishes third among the ILMC cars in GTE AM. The first place taken by the Porsche of Roeder and Long, while the victory is still to be had by the untouchables Narak and Armindo, running in the Le Mans Series at the wheel of their Porsche 911 RSR. In the USA, the Corvette is on home stomping ground. But it's Krone Racing that plays at home with its three drivers, Tracy Krone seconded by Nick Johnson and Michele Regolo. But it's Rui Aguas in the AF Corsa Ferrari 430 that signs pole position in the category on the Road Atlanta circuit, rebaptized Petit Le Mans by the fans. The trio, completed by Justin Bell and Rob Kaufman, will finish on the third step of the podium after 10 hours racing. While the apple green Ferrari of Krone Racing is the most agile through the dense traffic on this relatively narrow circuit. They take their sole victory, and for the team boss, that's already not bad.
I think you always remember the wins. You know, we won at Sebring and we won at Petit Le Mans. So you always think about the wins. We unfortunately did not do well at Le Mans. We had an engine failure at Le Mans, which was very disappointing for us because we were in good shape to finish well there. Spa was, we had some issues with Spa. I had some issues at Silverstone with the track itself. I found that to be the most difficult track for me to drive.
After having dominated the points in this 2011 season, Gabriel Gardel, Patrick Bornhauser and Julian Canal will have to be satisfied with the points from second place, assuring them the 2011 title in GTE AM before the end of the season. And it's a second consecutive crown because the team were already champions last year in GT1.
On arrive à cette épreuve finale
We arrive at this final event at Zhuhai, where to prepare better for 2012, Olivier Beretta has come to join us. Now that the championship's been acquired, we can prepare for the next season in a kind of pre-season run before the WEC. It's the Ferrari CRS of Tim Mullen, Pierre Herré and Roger Wills that signs pole position in the GTE Amateur class. And they also lead the dance in the first laps, but their domination won't last long. A blowout means they'll lose their grip on the race and be relegated to fourth position. The champions are doing just fine, thanks, already into a preparatory phase for 2012. They know they mustn't over-abuse their talent for an event with no real stakes, and they finish second. Their main rivals in the championship, the Krone Racing team, take third place ahead of CRS. But it's the only Porsche running here that takes the victory at Zhuhai, an important point for the car manufacturer. The cards were already dealt in the championship, where Labre, which was assured the title, finishes the season ahead of Krone Racing and Team Proton, victorious here with Reed, Leitz and Roeder. It's the final podium of the season in GTA, where three manufacturers are represented in the first three places, in the race and in the championship.